Good morning, good evening, jambo, habari. ¿Cómo estás? Salut. And welcome to another edition of the 360-degree brand story, where brands come alive one brushstroke at a time. This is a show hosted by Akiko Stories, part of the Afrikan MSME Collective, and always on the seat. Hot, cold, warm is one Kyesubire, Talitwala, Greg. I am your host, Joe Mukoko, welcoming you to another episode. Interesting episode, I might say. With a very, very important topic for you as a business owner and you as an individual. We try to have this conversation bi-weekly and get to discuss matters, communication, branding that help position you for and to your target audience. Last month, we were celebrating the HR month, and we talked about teams, bringing them on board, celebrating them, and helping them and making them be our brand ambassadors. This month, we began the conversation why you should tell your story. Celebrate yourself and blow your horn. But before we get into all those details, allow me to bring on our virtual stage, virtual platform, all the way from the sunny plains of East Nairobi. Oh, from the sunny plains east of Nairobi, not East Nairobi, east of Nairobi, right? They're in the plains, very nice, scenic places. Kyesubire, welcome. I was about to throw you a curve and ask you to tell us a story. Then I realized, let me leave you at it. Say hello to us before I ask you to tell us a story. Today I'm being gentle. As you can see, I'm very controlled. Over to you, Kyesubire.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Good morning, good evening, good night. No matter where you're tuning in from, Karibuni Sana. That means welcome, welcome, welcome to the 360-degree brand story, where brands come alive one brushstroke at a time.
Just do that on me.
That's the fun of this show.
Oh, my. You just pulled my leg. Kyesubire. It's nice to have you here. I can't believe you just did that on me.
Say hello. So I said hello.
Kyesubire, in your conversations, you always remind us to keep talking about our story. And you always go this way. I will not be able to say it exactly. As African business people, we need to begin telling our stories because there will be no one to tell it on our behalf. Why is it so important to celebrate our milestones and achievements?
A couple of episodes ago, I said, and I'll keep saying it because it's something I believe in. Whoever tells the story first is correct. So that's why it's important to celebrate our milestones. Let's say I get a PhD in biology, but then everybody who starts talking about it talks about how I have a PhD in geology. The amount of work it would take to undo that conversation is a lot. And if many people have said it, it will be easier for them to believe it. It's the way fake news spreads. One person, and I don't know if you've seen how a lot of the media houses, you see Maandamano has started or the protests have started, and go to a lot of the digital platforms, whoever posted it first, because guys don't have the same source and they're still looking for sources, they copy, paste, 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 paste. So then you're like, okay, so who broke it first? And in this day and age of breaking the story first, it's important that you are the one who breaks your story. So that's why it's important for us to tell our stories, because we all know the proverb, until the gazelle tells the story will always be told from the lion's perspective or the hunter's perspective. So that's why it's important. If we go a little bit further and we look at what we know about our history as it is told to us is as it is from when we could read and write, which is from the days of colonialism. Before that, Africans were largely oral. We still are. So there is history that we have lost simply because the holders of it did not pass it on after a certain point. And now history is thankfully being rewritten because of a project by UNESCO. But that's really why we need to tell our stories, whether celebratory or just our growth stories or our life stories or our silly stories. It's, I mean, random comment. You see how Anguka Nayo has now become a thing. I mean, it's simply a song that started trending during the protests. And now the videos on Wall Street. I mean, there are videos everywhere. And I'm certain there are people who are dancing to that song have no idea what it means. Power of a story. Back to you.
When it's time to document the stories, please don't document how you pulled a prank on me today. Thank you, because you love documenting. Thank you.
I will write about it.
Let's come back to the business and personal level. We are still on the why. How big is this?
The why for telling stories? It's
Yes.
huge. It's really huge. So here's the thing that I think most of us kind of grapple with. I've started a business, it's doing well. Yeah, everybody says build in secret and then celebrate in public. So it's important, and we'll come back to today's topic of celebration. Why should we tell about our milestones? A couple of things, really a couple of things, two things. One, you did it, you made it, you worked hard, you got there, you have the bragging rights. So just talk about it. Half the time, telling the story is the relief of, wait, this was the journey. What? This was a process, but we made it. So that's one of it. Celebrate your bragging rights. Celebrate the achievements. You have done the work. Now, many of us assume that when we say you have the bragging rights, you're like, me, 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 me. No, you can talk about the thing in multiple ways. For instance, like what we're building, every episode we put up is a celebration of the platform we're building as the Afrikan MSME Collective. Just the very fact that in 7 months, I think, we actually have like 12 episodes across 3 shows. I mean, that is something to celebrate. We do not have a major donor funding it, no. We are a young business, under a year old, but we're drawing from our joint 50 years in the SME space. So we are going to celebrate ourselves. Mupende musipende, wewe ukipenda jua ama usipende, we will celebrate ourselves. Why? That simply means we'll celebrate ourselves whether people like it or not. Because we have attained a milestone. It's not easy to get up every week and know what we're shooting, but we have developed a system around it. It's our proprietary system, so it works for us. Okay, so that's one reason. For the work you have done, celebration is like that. Whew, sigh of relief. You go, you dance in the rain, then you come back and you continue working. But the second reason why you must celebrate yourself out in public is positioning. Nobody knows what you're doing until you talk about it. Nobody knows how many lives have been impacted until you talk about it. Nobody knows the products you have until you talk about them. So you have the bragging rights and you have the need to position. So celebrating your milestones is mandatory. Simple things like 1 year birthday, 9 years of existence. There's I was moderating a panel a couple of months ago, and the moderator reduced his bio to number of years he's worked, number of clients he's met, he was an investment advisor, the value of the funds he has managed, and the number of organizations he's worked and built in, and then how long he's been on his own. It was 5 points. I mean, I didn't need to look. He had this long bio, then these 5 points on the bottom that summarized the long bio. And I sat there, I was like, yo, this guy has reduced his intro to 5 things that are memorable. And he can consistently talk about it because every day the number of lives impacted goes up. So if it was 20,000 yesterday and we're a meeting of 80, that's 20,080 every day. So it's a positioning tool to celebrate your achievements, and it's also a way to breathe out, chill, relax, regroup, and recover. So then the thing you would next ask me, and let me preempt you on that one, is what do you share? I think I've listed a lot of them. Share innovations, share what you have done, your progress reports. Has somebody in your team grown? Have they graduated? Celebrate them. Have you changed something in your ecosystem? Everything and anything. And I think it comes back to the belief that you should not toot your own horn, as you said earlier. There is a difference between celebrating a win and being arrogant about the win. Now, we're not calling for arrogance. We're not calling for vindictiveness and malice and putting your competition down. We're calling for genuine, woohoo, this is what we set out to do, and we have attained it. And that's it. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you for preempting me. I celebrate you for preempting me. As you said, not arrogance, but genuine celebration. You own your story. You tell your story the way it should be told. It's a journey, and in every journey, there are barriers. What are the common barriers when we have to celebrate our milestones and achievements?
The most common barrier I find, and this is a lot more amongst African women, but also in businesses, is a sense of false humility. Now, hear me out. Humility is important. let's not, reduce the value of that. But there is a sense in which you're like, oh, I can't talk about myself. Why? Who will talk about you if you don't talk about yourself? And I'll use myself as an example. I'm raised in a Christian home. I'm a firm believer in Christ. I have always said that I should not toot my own horn. And it's from the perspective of it is self-absorbed and self-involved. But the reality is nobody knows how far I've come but me, right? Every morning getting up and going to work and having a successful day for me is a major milestone. Having battled 2 bouts of depression and 2 bouts of burnout, right? Nobody knows that, but even look at your face, you've never known that. Getting up every morning and accomplishing my to-do list and being on stages and writing and doing content for people is a milestone. Building, I keep saying, and you've had this a lot, building, we're on business number what? 5? For me, it's 5 and 6. Akiko is 5, AMC is 6. It's a major milestone. I can get up and say, I have built and closed 4, but here are the lessons I've learned, right? I'm not the woman who started her first business. How old was I when I started Biashara? I think I was 20. You know that gap year in between high school and university? Well, I took a gap year. In that gap year, I worked, I went to college, I became a hairdresser, I worked in hairdressing, and I burnt out. And I was 20. So every day I am able to accomplish a big task, for me, the celebration. But for so long, the thing I put in front of me is the losses and the failures. Now I know that to be as eloquent as I am is a gift. I will not throw it in people's faces. I will not tell people I'm more eloquent than you. I could have said that better. But I can quietly put out my articles and be happy about who I have become. Because it's been a journey. Yo, Joe, it's been a journey to get from an insecure 5-year-old to confident, So the false humility says, but I can't talk about what I have done. Why? Who will? When you die, sorry to be morbid, but when you die is when people say, oh, Kyesubire did, she did. Guys are like, who is that? And the other reason why it's false humility is because God put you on this earth to change a life. Building your business is not the only life-changing thing you're doing. Your story will encourage somebody else. So that's the first one, the biggest one, I think, especially around women, among African women. All women have a sense of it. African women, I think we have like a triple dose of it. Because we don't want people to say, Mwangalie anajiringa, look at her, she's proud. We don't want people to say that about us. But the second one is fear, because what if I say I have accomplished, then I fail tomorrow? Mic check, failure is no. And you have not failed. It's the thing you're working on that has failed. So we have the fear of failure because if my business fails, I'm a failure. And I grappled with that for a long time because I thought with 2 failed businesses, Kyesubire is the failure. The idea, the process, the implementation is where I failed. That's how I learned to turn every failed business into a stepping stone. But we are scared that people will talk about us. Have you had these guys? So how did you make it to where you are? Oh, God only. God. God gave you strategy, surely. Huh? God did not come down from heaven and drop a successful business in your lap. Lies. Lies. So yes, it's by the grace of God through the implementation of strategies he gave you. But if I have no foundation, let's say I went and I just did kalongolongo and I got into business, I put crooked deals, I will not tell that story. I'll just tell people, I just found a good deal. And the young person in the room is asking, how did you connect the deal? What was the network? Did you have a process? I just connected to the deal. God just blessed me. God has never given anything to anyone here on a silver platter. He will give you an assignment and the idea and the plan. You must implement and build the teams. So fear of people talking about you, fear of KRA, or whatever your revenue authority is called. The biggest reason MSMEs don't share about their growth is because they don't want the revenue authority to come calling. So if you're fearful of the revenue authority coming to call for those millions, go and file your taxes. Go file your taxes. So for every fear you have, identify it, find the root, and deal with the root. And then comparison, and this one we're laughing about earlier with you, Joe. I have only been in business for 1 year. Why should I celebrate it? And Joe has been there for 20. I'm not Joe. I know what it's taken me to do this 1 year. I know how much I've had to raise, the challenges my family has faced, how many hours I've left my children, how many times I have almost closed it, because we have all almost closed our business at one point or the other. And then the fourth one is a big one. It's really the lack of skill of how to tell it. And maybe we'll do another episode about that one. But many of us don't know the nitty-gritties. We assume just by flooding many pictures on Facebook for a certain demographic is telling the story. No, that's just a pictorial. And there are many dimensions which you can tell the same story. You can tell the same story and spin it off 5 or 6 different ways. So those are the common barriers: lack of skill, comparison, fear, and false humility.
Thank you, Kyesubire. God should never be an answer from any business person. Please narrate your story. That's my takeaway from this whole conversation today. Document, find the root cause of your fear. Document your stories and find the root cause of your fear and deal with it. If you do not tell your story, someone else will tell your story. Kyesubire, your parting shot. One word, not one parting shot. What is the, no, let me not tell you one word. You will actually give me one word. Today you've decided you're playing pranks on me. Okay, one key takeaway that our viewers, listeners, audience can start implementing immediately. And not in one word. Please don't give me one word. I've taken it back.
I had one word for you.
I know. I saw your face.
You know me too well. I will give one word and I'll explain. Right. Now, many of us say we're not writers, but in this here, between our ears, in this mind of ours, in our brain, we have a lot of information. We have a running joke with you that I need to unpack your brain. And why is that? In each of our minds, we have something that nobody knows. In each of our minds, there is a formula to our business that nobody knows. In each of our minds, there's wealth and depth. That's why, Joe, every video we do, you think it's the end of content, and then you pull up another topic and we do another 3 videos. Because as long as you're removing information from your brain, you're making space for new information to come. And when you receive new information, your brain fires on in different directions. So simple thing. If I am right-handed, so I write in the right hand, but every time I teach my left hand to do something, I rewire my brain and my brain builds new motor neurons. So if we want to consistently grow, we must write to pour out what we know and make room for new lessons. So new information, new experiences, new things we can talk about. Pouring out also opens the surface, creates space for hidden information to come to the surface. And that's really what we are about as SME leaders. We consistently need to grow. So by telling what we know, what we have inside of us, it gives us the room to absorb more, find more, unpack more, and cover more, so that then we are better leaders. So if I'm consistently growing, then I can consistently celebrate my growth every day. So right.
Thank you, Kyesubire. I was actually trying to take notes with my left hand to see if I will rewire the brain that you want to unpack. So I'll keep on trying. Our viewers, thank you so much for joining us for another entertaining episode of the 360-degree brand story. We are happy that you joined us. We look forward to you joining us in our next episode as we unpack. Remember, we just gave you a small dose as we unpack this story some more. Subscribe to the channel, reach out to us on chat, ask questions if you have any, and we shall respond to you. Find the root cause of your fear, why you're not celebrating yourself. Deal with it and celebrate yourself. And God cannot be an answer to the celebration process. Remember, don't be arrogant, but tell your story. Otherwise, it will be told on your behalf. Thank you very much. We celebrate you, SME owners. We celebrate you, our great audience. Till next time, ciao and bye from me.